Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is about building construction setbacks. That setbacks that is given for building construction, that you don't have to just build to your fence. So that's the wall fence around there. Then this is site plan. You can see existing road there and the proposed building. The setbacks is just the space that you give to the fence, then your building, so that your building will not be built to the fence. Building to the fence is very bad. Whether it's a proposed building or an existing building, the setbacks should always be maintained. If it's an existing building, setback should be considered before you start building. Existing meaning the building is already there. Then that's what I'm trying to say, that you have to consider setbacks when you are constructing. During building construction is very important. It's necessary so that the building will not be demolished by the government. So these rules have to be applied by, you should actually follow the building regulations, because in different countries has their own offset, their setbacks for building construction. But for Benin City, Nigeria, but anything you have to always consider the setbacks that is permitted in your, according to your town planning regulation in your area. That the setbacks that they allow for residential building, setbacks that is required for commercial building. So those setbacks should be considered. Then that will now tell you the spaces that you give to your boundary. The boundary of the site can be, there can be a site, there can be wall fence around the boundary of the plot. If for example there is no wall fence, that they have not fenced the boundary of the plot, what you have to do is you have to know where the beacon blocks are, the beacon blocks for each of the points based on the shape of your land. Then the beacon blocks will now tell you the boundary of the plot. So that will tell you that you are not kind of taking measurements from another person's land. So the beacon number should be considered. But assuming there is no beacon numbers, the owner will show you where and where the plot, the boundary of the plot is, so that you can be able to use that to assess the, when you are taking your setbacks. Because you don't want a situation whereby you go ahead and take setbacks from another person's land. Then at the end of the day, then your setbacks will no longer be complete. Setbacks is very important. Like for example, the space at the setbacks at the back of the building. Let's say if the space, the setback space is 2 feet, for example, you cannot, two persons cannot be able to pass through that 2 feet space. So setbacks is very important, because there is a situation whereby you have to pass through the around the building, and as well there will be no air space. There will be no air space. Ventilation will also be very difficult. So the space at the back, then the space at the side, overbuilding a building has its own disadvantage. Apart from you following building regulation, it has its own effects. So it's always better for you to go with the building regulation when it has to do with setbacks as well. Building regulation is very important when it has to do with building construction. If your building construction is not following, is not in accordance with building rules and regulation, it has to do with town planning regulation, your building can be demolished by the government. Let's say the setbacks at the minimum setback you're supposed to give for a residential building, and you did not give that measurement, you built it close to the road. Then let's say government want to expand the road, government has the right to break through your fence, and if it affects your building, government will not be responsible for it, because you refuse to take the actual setbacks. What some persons do, they go as far as building to the road, thereby causing, in fact some persons do build beyond their boundary line as well. So when situations like that comes up and government want to expand the road, and your building is on the the road, the space that is there, the building is on the road line. Then if government demolish such building, that's demolish part of the building that is on the road, then government will not be responsible for that. Government will not pay for that because your building is on the road. So it's very important for you to have setbacks, and as well it's good for you to do your survey plan so that you know exactly where the boundary of your of the plot is. Apart from doing your survey plan for you to know the boundary, you that is the owner that has the land, you should know where the the boundary of your the boundary of your the boundary of your plot is. So boundary of the plot is very important. Then setback should also be considered to avoid unnecessary demolition. You should be able to know the setbacks that is allowed in your state. The setbacks, minimum setback is allowed for essential building, then from the boundary at the road side of at the road, then the to your building. Then the offset setbacks that is allowed at the back of the building, setbacks that is allowed at the side of the building. You should be able to make that inquiry before you start your design. So setbacks is very important. You have to work with the building regulation in your state, town planning regulation in your state when you are working, when it has to do with site plan design. It can be more than the setbacks, but it should not be less than the setbacks measurement. So it should not be less than the minimum distance that is required, but it can be more than the minimum distance that is required. If you do not know the knowledge of the setbacks that are required, you can visit the town planning office that is present in your state to get those information for your residential building, also for a commercial building. In my state here in Edo State in Nigeria, for residential building, the minimum setbacks that is required at the back of the building should not be less than 6 feet. Then the minimum setbacks that is required at the side should not be less than 6 feet. Also, the minimum setbacks that is required at the front should not be less than 15 feet setbacks. Then also another thing to consider is the area of plot. The area built should not be more than half of the area of plot. Let me repeat again. The area built should not be more than half of the area of plot. So those things have to be considered as well. Apart from the setbacks, the area built should not be more than half of the area of plot. So you have to consider those two things together. Also, for your site plan, the size of the road, you should know the size of the road. If there are different sizes of road, there are 30-feet road here in Nigeria, those states, 30-feet size of road, 50-feet size of road, 100-feet size of road. So you should know the size, the actual size of the road. You don't have to make use of measuring tape to measure the size of the road, but if you look at it, you can be able to tell the size of the road. Then when you have gotten the size of the road, you have to take the size. Let's say for example the size of the road is 30 feet. 30 feet divided by 2, that's 15 feet. So then what you do is if you make use of the 15 feet, that's the middle of the road to the boundary. Then the measurement that you got there from the middle of the road to the plot boundary, so that would now be 15 feet, because you are dividing the size of the road into two. That would be 15 feet. So it varies depending on the size of the road. So it can be more than 50 feet from the midpoint to the boundary can be more than 50 feet. So it depends on the road size. If you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and click on the subscribe button for more notification whenever I post a new video.